July is quietly turning into one of the best months for indie RPG fans we've had in a while. 10 brand new role-playing games are sliding onto Steam over the next few weeks, and they could not be more different from each other. Going from dreams you can physically rearrange to magic that literally runs on your own blood. Stick with me, because at least 3 of these are getting buried in my wish list by the end of this video. 1. Dream Shell. Launches July 2nd, 2026. Picture this. You fall asleep, and the world you wake up in is held together by nothing but logic that bends every single time you blink. That's Dream Shell, and it grabbed me from the very first screenshot. This is an RPG that treats dreams like actual playable space, where the layout of a room can rearrange itself based on what you remember and what you're trying to forget. You're not just grinding levels here, you're piecing together fractured memories. And the combat ties directly into how stable your own headspace is. The more rattled you get, the weirder the encounters become. What makes this one stand out from the usual dreamy indie crowd is how stubbornly it refuses to hold your hand. Nothing is labeled, nothing is obvious, and you have to feel your way through it. Doesn't that sound like the kind of game you finish at 3 in the morning and then just lie there staring at the ceiling? It drops July 2nd, and if you love RPGs that mess with your head, this one belongs on your list. 2. Headache, Altered States. Launches July 2nd, 2026. Speaking of games that mess with your perception, let me introduce Headache, Altered States, because the name alone is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. This is an adventure RPG built entirely around the idea that your character's mind is the battlefield. Reality keeps shifting, colors melt, corridors loop back on themselves, and the whole game leans into that woozy, off-balance feeling like it's a feature instead of a bug. The core hook is that your perception is a stat. You can alter your own state to reveal hidden paths or crack puzzles. But every shift comes with a cost, and pushing too far makes the world turn genuinely hostile against you. I love that it doesn't just look surreal for the aesthetic, it actually wires that surrealism into how you play. Compared to other psychological RPGs that fizzle out after the cool intro, this one promises to keep escalating. Are you the type who enjoys a game that actively gaslights you? Then mark July 2nd, because this might be the strangest trip on the entire calendar this month. 3. The Mutiny. Launches July 1st, 2026. Now buckle up, because The Mutiny brings the energy way up. This is an action-adventure RPG where the whole story kicks off with a crew turning on their captain, and you're stuck right in the middle of the chaos, deciding who lives, who leads, and who gets thrown overboard. The combat is fast and physical, full of close-quarters brawls and desperate last stands. And every choice you make ripples out to change who fights beside you and who wants your head on a spike. What hooks me is the loyalty system. Your crew isn't just a menu of stats, they actually remember what you did, and a betrayal early on can absolutely come back to bite you 20 hours later. That's exactly the kind of consequence I want from an RPG. Most action games let you button mash your way to a win, but this one wants you scheming the entire time. Can you genuinely hold a crew together when everyone's got a knife and a grudge? It launches July 1st, so if you like your RPGs loud and messy, wishlist it. 4. Am I Still Me? Launches July 14th, 2026. Let's slow the tempo right down and get a little philosophical, because Am I Still Me is the kind of title that stops your scroll cold. This is an RPG with a strategy backbone built around a genuinely unsettling question. What happens to you when pieces of who you are get swapped, copied, or quietly rewritten? Mechanically, you manage a character whose identity is literally a resource you spend and rebuild. Memories, traits, and skills can be traded away in tactical encounters, but every trade chips at who your character actually is. And the game keeps asking whether the person standing at the end is still the one you started with. I find that fascinating because most strategy RPGs treat your hero as a fixed sheet of numbers, and this one treats the self as something fragile and losable. It rewards slow, thoughtful play over reflexes. How much of yourself would you give up just to win a single fight? That's the hook. It arrives July 14th, and if you want a thinky RPG that lingers in your skull long after you close it, watch this one. 5. The Hidden Scrolls. Launches July 15th, 2026. From there, we drift into proper old-school fantasy with The Hidden Scrolls. And honestly, this one feels like a warm bath for anyone who grew up on classic RPGs. The setup is simple, but incredibly inviting. Scattered across the world are ancient scrolls, and each one you uncover rewrites a piece of the map, opens up new routes, or hands you a spell that changes how you approach the next region entirely. It blends RPG progression with light strategy, so you're constantly weighing where to explore next and which scroll is worth the risk of chasing down. What makes it click for me is that knowledge itself is the real loot here. You're not just hunting bigger swords, you're hunting understanding, and the world slowly unfolds the more you learn about it. Compared to the flashier RPGs on this list, this one plays it patient and cozy, the kind of game you happily sink into on a quiet weekend. Remember the joy of slowly mapping a world by hand. This taps straight into that. It releases July 15th, so curious explorers bookmark it. 6. Annihilated. Launches July 21st, 2026. Okay, the mood is about to get heavy, because Annihilated does not sound like it came here to make friends. This is a dark, brutal RPG that drops you into a world that's already lost, where the apocalypse isn't some threat on the horizon, it's the wreckage you're currently walking through. The combat leans punishing and deliberate, the kind where one bad decision can wipe hours of progress and survival feels genuinely earned instead of handed to you. What really sets it apart is the tone. There's no chosen one fantasy here, no triumphant rebuild at the end, just you scraping forward through ruin and trying to hold on to a single reason to keep going. I deeply respect a game that's willing to be this bleak and then commit to it fully. Do you ever crave an RPG that actually makes you feel the weight of a world ending? This is swinging for exactly that. It hits Steam on July 21st, and if you like your role-playing grim, demanding, and unafraid of the dark, wishlist it, just maybe don't play it right before bed. 7. Chemists. Dead Zone. Launches July 10th, 2026. Let's crank the adrenaline back up with Chemists. Dead Zone, because this one is pure tense survival energy. Picture an action RPG set in a contaminated wasteland where chemistry isn't some side gimmick, it's your entire survival kit. You scavenge raw materials, mix compounds, and craft everything from healing serums to volatile explosives. And the right concoction at the right second is the difference between living and quietly becoming part of the scenery. The action is frantic, the dead zone is openly hostile, and every supply run feels like a real gamble. What pulls me in is how it ties the crafting directly into the combat. So you're improvising chemical solutions mid-fight instead of pausing in a tidy menu. It's launching into early access on July 10th, so expect a rough but ambitious ride that grows over time. Honestly, who among us didn't dream of being the mad scientist who outlives the apocalypse on pure ingenuity? If you like action RPGs with a survival crafting hook and you don't mind getting in early on something raw, go scout this one out. 8. The Blood Mage 2 by Daniel Da Silva. Launches July 15th, 2026. Now for the fans of dark spellcasting, The Blood Mage 2 by Daniel Da Silva is back, and the title tells you exactly what flavor of fantasy you're walking into. This is an adventure RPG where your magic runs on blood, your own and your enemies. So every powerful spell becomes a trade, and every fight turns into a tense little math problem about how much you're actually willing to bleed for the win. It's a sequel, which means Da Silva has had a whole previous game to sharpen the systems, and you can really feel that ambition in how the spellcrafting has expanded this time. What makes it stand out is that pure risk and reward loop. Going all in on a brutal spell might just end the fight, or it might leave you too drained to survive the next room. I love magic systems with real stakes instead of an infinite mana bar. Are you reckless enough to fuel your power with your own life? That's the question it keeps asking. It conjures itself onto Steam July 15th, so grab it now. 9. Neuralix launches July 21st, 2026. Then we plug into something colder and sharper with Neuralix, a strategy RPG that feels like it crawled straight out of a cyberpunk fever dream. You're operating inside networks, slicing through systems, and commanding programs like units on a battlefield, where every encounter plays out as a tactical chess match against hostile code. The hook is that your abilities are modular, almost like installing software into your own loadout, so you're constantly rebuilding your approach to counter whatever the system decides to throw at you. It rewards cold, calculated planning, and there's a real satisfaction in reading the board, predicting the enemy's routine, and then dismantling it move by move. Compared to the more emotional RPGs on this list, Neuralix is all about that crisp, clean, tactical brain itch. Do you get a weird little thrill from outsmarting a machine on its own turf? Because that is the entire pitch here, and I am completely into it. It boots up on Steam July 21st, so if you love strategy RPGs with a hacker edge, go slot it onto your wish list right now. 10. Dead Weight launches July 16th. And to close things out, let's sit with Dead Weight, a moody strategy RPG that's clearly carrying something a lot heavier than its loot. The title works on 2 levels, and the game seems fully aware of it, blending tactical decision-making with a story about burdens you simply can't put down. You manage characters and resources where every choice carries a literal cost, and dragging the wrong baggage forward can sink an entire run. The combat is deliberate and tense, but it's the atmosphere that really hooks me, this slow, somber weight hanging over every single decision you make. What separates it from the pack is how it treats consequence as the main mechanic rather than an afterthought. Nothing in here ever feels free. Have you ever played a game where putting something down is the hardest move available to you? That's the energy. It lands July 16th, and if you want a thoughtful RPG with genuine emotional gravity to send this roundup off, Dead Weight is a strong note to end on. Take your time wishlisting that one. It's worth the thought. That's 10 indie RPGs all landing this July, and every single one of these is a small team betting big, so a wishlist genuinely changes their launch. If even one of these caught your eye, smash that wishlist button and toss us a follow so you never miss the next roundup. I'll see you in the next one.